Hi there. If you are tuning into this podcast, it means one of two things. Either you have no clue about managing your finances or you want to take them to the next level. Either way, we've got you covered. Financially Ever After is for the modern day Indian professional who is ready to take control of their financial journey. So let's start building your financial future one episode at a time. Welcome to Financially Ever After. In today's episode, we're focusing especially on women and women who are in different stages of their careers. So whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned professional, or you're all welcome here. So let me first introduce all of the lovely guests I have today. First, let me introduce Divya. Divya is from Bangalore, and she has worked with three different startups, helping them scale from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. She's lived in different cities across India, and she's had the chance to interact with different women from various walks of life. In her own words, she describes herself as an aam ladki that most ladies will be able to relate to. As you know, she's just exploring the world of finance. So, hi Divya, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Meda. I'm very happy to be a part of such an event.
Thanks, Divya. Next, we have Reshma. Reshma has a background in finance and business management. She has a professional experience working in finance for over 10 years. She's lived in Europe, the US, and in India over the past decade. Reshma has a lot of unique insights into the world of finance and finance as an industry, which is why I wanted her to be part of this conversation. And outside of work, Reshma is a voracious reader, loves stand up comedy, and exploring new places. So, hi, Reshma. Welcome.
Hi, Meda. Thank you for having me at the event.
Perfect. Thank you for being here, Reshma. Next, we have Anushka. Anushka is a financial content writer. She's been writing on personal finances for over 2 years now, and she's worked with Hindustan Times as a freelance content writer in finance. So, hi, Anushka.
Hi, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Anushka. And finally, the host of the show and co founder at Wealth Up along with me, Ankit. Again, for those of you who may not know Ankit, he's an engineer by education, an investment banker turned entrepreneur. By personality, Ankit is super aggressive and ambitious. So I'm always amazed at how he talks to every client so patiently and answers their most basic questions in finance like he would to a 5-year-old, which really helps me as well because I ask him basic questions all the time. So, hoping that he brings that same patience to this conversation. Hi, Ankit.
Hi, Nida. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so now that we know everyone and we're all comfortable with each other, let's jump right into it. So, Ankit, you work with clients, both male and female, typically working professionals. So, I want to know from you, like, what is the main difference that you see between men and women when it comes to financial decision making?
See, I talk to people almost every day, men and women. The biggest difference that I've found is the level of confidence among between the two of them. Generally speaking, women lack that confidence about financial decision, and part of this, sort of comes from the fear about what if I make mistakes, what if I lose money, and so they just let their man, whoever may the case, whoever that person may be it your father, brother, husband, son, whoever it is, to make that financial decision. But even they can make mistakes, right? So when you are giving, as a woman, you are giving that space to your man to make mistakes. Why are you not giving that space to yourself, right? So that is the biggest difference, I would say.
Okay. So, all right. I think fear and lack of confidence is something that I have seen a lot when it comes to women as well. And honestly, this is not just in finances. Like when I was working, before my startup, I've noticed even in the office, just generally, women are always kind of second guessing themselves. And we always wonder, if we're about to say the right thing, what are people going to think about it? And I think in general, very cautious about making mistakes. So I want to throw this question to Reshma. Reshma, firstly, do you agree with this? Have you felt this? And, actually, if you can answer that.
Sure. No, I was jumping as both of y'all were talking because this is exactly what I have seen and what I've experienced. And I think most of us would agree. Women tend to be more cautious. Women want to be right because there is an inherent insecurity in some sense about, you don't want to be wrong because you already have a battle to fight. It's very unfounded because I think it's very individual. If you present yourself as confident in any sphere, people will automatically trust you.
Yeah.
But we tend not to do that, maybe because of social norms, maybe because of our own, backgrounds or whatever histories we have. Definitely something that has been inherent in the Indian culture for sure, but definitely something that less and less of us globally can afford to do anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the changing, dynamics of the gender roles as well as this financial situation, financial atmosphere globally.
Yeah. No, absolutely, Reshma. And I think it's really unfortunate. So recently I was at an event where it was all, entrepreneurs who were women. And, we were running these polls and trying to understand what were, some challenges that they were facing. And it wasn't sales, it wasn't GTM or, fundraising. The biggest challenge was imposter syndrome. And that was really really surprising to me. I don't know why, because that's something that I face all the time, right? Even though I've been running a startup for 2 years now. So definitely I think in general I think there is this whole confidence bit that even after years of working is something we face. So Divya, just want to know from you as well, right? Is this something that you faced, or do you also face?
Yeah, Meda. So a couple of years back, if anyone would have told me I'll be part of such a forum and, as a speaker, I would have just laughed it off, because 2-3 years back, I was not that great managing my own finances, because I used to, give the money to my dad and he majorly managed all my portfolio. And I think as a society, as women, it is very deeply ingrained in us that, men are innately good at it, right? We have seen our dads or grandpas or uncles, the major decision makers financially, even though when our aunts and moms, they were earning, so they were just secondary decision makers. The primary thing was done by the men, and the women just maybe supported financially, or they just signed few papers, that's it, right? So the whole research and everything was done by men. So I assumed, okay, after my dad, my husband will take care of this naturally, right? And to be honest, as mentioned in the first introduction, I find financing and investment portfolios boring and very tedious, right? I doze off when I start reading about it. But when I got into my late 20s and early 30s, that's when I realized, what if I never get married? Who's going to manage my portfolio? And when I saw women around me speaking a lot about their own portfolios, that's when reality hit me, right? What am I doing? I'm being dumb, right? So I started slowly learning from YouTube videos. I went and sat with my dad, to be honest, and I said, how much ever boring it is, tell me everything you know. And I started taking baby steps. The first thing I could understand was gold. Okay, so I used to buy gold. And
gold is very inherent and something also which is associated with women, right? Women buy gold, right? That's what they do.
No, it is easily understandable. You go give money, they give you some 1 gram, 2 gram, 3 gram coins. You just keep it in your house, and slowly it multiplies. You keep investing, right? But then slowly I started understanding crypto, stock market. I definitely lost money in crypto, but a small amount. But those are all learnings for me, right? And slowly in my early 30s, I always thought, having a house is great, in your name. But I always thought husband will come into my life, and as couples we will take this decision, because that was what was going on around me. We see that, right? Be it your friends or your family, that's a joint decision making. But then I realized, what if that never happens? What if this guy never comes into my life? Then I went ahead and did this on my own. And that's when I realized 8-9 years of field sales, I have amazing knowledge about real estate and markets. And it never occurred to me, I can do it on my own. I don't need another person to, a male especially, to sign the papers, do the research, run for the loan, check the legal documentation, plan the interiors, coordinate with everybody. I know it sounds like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, but when you plan it and break it down into smaller steps, anybody can do, male or female. So this is my input, from my life.
Sure. So going back to what Reshma was saying. So Reshma, how did you overcome this kind of lack of confidence or fear when it comes to your managing your money?
So my confidence was more to do with just life. I'm generally an introvert. I'm generally not someone who is very loud. I find finance very interesting. In fact, I got into economics growing up in Moscow in the 1990s, which was a very interesting time, which was actually a decade-long lesson in what not to do as a government, and what not to do with your currency and with your central bank and all of that. And knowing when you understand the concept, the fear goes away. My issue was speaking up, because the what do I say? The conditioning is that you don't, right? The conditioning is that you be this good little girl. But finance is an industry that doesn't allow for that. Finance is an industry that's incredibly aggressive.
Yeah.
And I just had to kind of push myself to make my point known. And I came to realize, of course, it depends on where you are, right? Where you work. When you work in the West, when you work for an MNC, you don't have to necessarily be loud. You just have to be persistent, and you have to be very, very forthright in what you say.
Yeah.
As I started doing it more, it's like building any muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
And it's okay to, or rather, I needed to also become okay, like Ankit said, like other people said, with making mistakes, right? Because nobody is right 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And it's okay to not be right.
Yeah. So I think, Divya mentioned good little girl. And, like I think a lot of this is very deeply rooted in our society as well. So just want to know from Anushka. So Anushka, growing up in, a tier 2 city like you did, what role did your parents or people around you play in, like either encouraging or discouraging you from taking up finance? Because of course you studied finance and you're a financial content writer, right? So how did that kind of
Yes.
influence you?
Well, I have always into the finances, so I don't have any. I didn't really face any biasness in that. But one thing I really realized that everything is started from the, beginning, from the studies when you do. When I was studying finances in my graduation and post graduation, the males of my class, my male classmates are really used to so much. They are so much into the let's do practical things. Okay, okay. My teacher has studied me this concept. Let's do practical.
Yeah.
So these kind of things, but we girls, we really don't used to do that.
Yeah.
We are really scared of what if we lose our all the pocket money.
Yeah.
So these kind of things. So I think culturally I didn't face any kind of issue in that sense. But yeah, it is kind of an inheritance, as Reshma and Divya says.
Yeah.
That it is quite inherited in us.
Yeah.
What if we lose money? What if we we are really scared of ourselves. No one is telling us, okay, you can't make mistakes, but we are so much into our insecurity kind of a thing. So I think that this is what culturally and societal aspects maybe are so much into that.
Yeah.
And it's also that, traditionally math is like not necessarily a subject associated with women.
Yes.
So you grow up with a fear of numbers. A lot of my friends, men and women who don't invest or are very reluctant to or outsource it, or don't double check the work of people they outsource their money to, are just worried about knowing. And I'm like, if you know, then you know what the problem is. If you know what the problem is, you can fix it. If you don't know what the problem is, a hole will become a crater before you even know it.
Yeah, makes sense. So I just want to ask everyone, is this something that everyone feels, that what Reshma said about, men are better at numbers? I'm asking the audience as well, if you can just, react and let me know, because that's definitely something that I used to believe. I don't even know where that belief came from. Like I just, maybe I was scared of math, and then I thought, okay, maybe like other women are scared of it as well. So and you can kind of see that, right? Like as a kind of a joke or a side point, like you can see how many like women aspire to be engineers or actually end up in like some of the IITs, right? And it's like the ratio is like crazy, men is to women. So I think that it's also somehow feeds into that. So actually, I think a lot of this starts in our childhood. So I just want to know from Divya that we spoke a little bit about family as well, right? So were there women in your life that kind of were role models that helped you, like kind of that you could look up to when it came to money matters?
Megha, before I'm sorry to cut you off, Divya, but before Divya answers, we have a guest here, Shreya. I think she wants to say something.
Yeah, hi Shreya.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak. Just in response to what you were saying, right, Megha, and it segues well into the conversation of role models.
Yeah.
It is surprising, right? Like math, of course, has been intimidating because I think from the way that we were taught, But if I have looked around in, the 35 close to odd years of my life, I've only ever seen men taking to math, and men take to math well. And I can count on my fingers and tell you, like, these are the women who are passionate about math for whatever reason. So, I'm conditioned to kind of think that, yes, men are wired in a way that math comes more easily to them, as much as I don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's very limiting also.
Yeah,
It's very
absolutely.
disempowering.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You tell yourself you're bad, so you somehow, end up not doing well or, trying as hard. So I think that does tend to happen. So yes, thank you, Shreya, for that point. Divya, I was asking you about role models.
Yeah. So I'm really bad at math. That's why I took up sales profession. It's mostly communication and very less math. Your calculators or your Excel sheets can do.
Yeah.
I come from a joint family, and I have lived with I think 4 generation women in my family from my great grandma. So I've seen the way things change when a woman is working and she handles her finances herself.
Yeah.
And my major role model is my mom. So I have seen her manage the family's, budget and investment with my dad in her late 40s and late 50s. And I also saw a gradual growth in my mom. In her 40s, she was more of a, to be honest, a family-oriented, sacrificial person, because that is what is expected from women, right?
Absolutely,
So they
yeah.
don't stay for themselves. They are more worried about the kids' wedding. They stay for that. They don't splurge on anything, and hence more investments focused on kids, right?
Yeah.
And in her 50s, once in the 60s, also when once she retired, the way she openly spoke, yes, I would probably give a little bit to you, but I want to keep a major chunk to me because I want to take care of myself, right?
Yeah.
And I've educated both the kids. You are self-sufficient right now. You need any help, you can always fall back, but my money is my money, and I'm going to diversify and invest in different places, and it is going to be my decision. And even my husband doesn't have a say in it. When she said, it sounded a little rude, like 4-5 years back. When I kept thinking about it, it made a lot of sense. It is her hard-earned money, and she has 2 daughters. There is no, in Indian sense, no guarantee that nobody's going to go take care of her in her old age. And she doesn't want to depend on any male, my dad, or her brothers, or any male member.
Yeah.
And it is her hard-earned money, right?
Yeah.
And she's done her job. She's already given enough to the family and, help. So she's my major role model in her 40s and 50s and 60s. So that's my answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it takes a lot of courage to speak up, right? Like I have seen my mom, I mean, a very basic thing, like even if we're going out to eat or ordering in, I still don't know what my mom likes to eat, because it's always been about, what do you guys want to order? Nay, just order anything. And that's the thing, right? Like, I think if we see our moms do something for themselves, it's weird because we're just not used to seeing that. But I have a daughter now, and I definitely don't want to teach her this. Like, I want her to, have her own likes and dislikes. But Divya, a good segue into the next point, which is essentially about being financially independent. So, first,
Veda, sorry, before you go ahead, can I just add one point?
Yeah, please,
I was
please.
thinking, as everyone was talking about this, I think the earlier generation had the luxury of not being able to work, of outsourcing this whole financial decision making. I look to my own family, and my mom is plenty capable. She's helped out her own family as a child, as a teenager, as a young 20-something-year-old. Helped her parents financially for years afterwards. She just chooses not to be. She's very capable. She just doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a choice, and that's fine. I don't think anybody today can afford to. No man, for the most part, can afford to, or no person can afford to, feed and clothe and kind of financially support an entire family if they want to enjoy everything that there is to enjoy in life in terms of material pleasures.
Yeah.
So now we have to train ourselves, we have to learn, and there is fear of the unknown. So if we break things up into smaller bits, like Ankit said, or if we break things up into stories, right? So what is happening in the economy is a amalgamation and aggregation of decisions that people like you and me and everybody else on this call have made. It's the summing up of the consequences of those decisions, shall we say.
Yeah.
So when we look at it like that, it is simple. It's a story. I did this because that happened, or because, whatever.
Yeah.
Simplify it in terms that you can understand, and we need to humanize finance. We need to humanize money because it is human beings' choices or feelings or emotions or decisions about this unit of whatever you want to call it that we've chosen to barter for goods and services. That's all money is.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very fair point that we don't have the luxury to not manage our money anymore. Because I think that of course there's no upper limit to the material pleasures that the world has to offer. But now even to do the basic stuff, the way things are moving, I think it's very true. Like things are getting more expensive. You want to do the best of things, and of course there's always social media to tell you you're not good enough. You need to do more expensive vacations, more expensive clothes, and all of that stuff. So yeah. Absolutely. Yes. So we were talking about financial independence. So, firstly, Ankit, I want you to kind of tell us what financial independence is, because I feel like when I talk to a lot of women specifically, they feel being financially independent is just having money in the bank and not asking people for money. So, I used to think I am financially independent because I no longer am asking my parents to support me. But I don't think that is the true definition of financial independence. So let's start there.
Yeah, sure, Medha. So when it comes to financial independence, what that means is that you have made enough savings and investments that they are generating enough return for you, so that you can take care of your expenses without having to work. That is what the definition for being financially independent is. Of course, the luxuries and all, there is no end to it, but your basics are covered. That is what financial independence is.
Right. Okay. So, keeping this definition in mind, I'll now go to Divya first. And Divya, I want to ask you, like from whatever you have seen in your life, and we spoke a little bit about COVID and what happened during COVID as well. So you can talk about that. Like, why is it so important specifically for women to be financially independent?
Yeah. So during COVID, when everything was going down the drain, right? And a lot of women, in my friend circle or family, women who had some kind of, maybe a pension, or they have saved throughout their lives, and, they got some kind of a interest or some kind of an income month on month, or they had some property in their name, even a small one. Okay. I saw them being more confident, and, they didn't have a lot of anxiety or panic attack. But when a lot of women who gave up their jobs and they got married into family, and maybe it was a business family and things didn't go great, and everything, was very shaky.
Yeah.
I could see, because they gave up job, or whatever investment the family had done was in the guy's name, or
Yeah.
all the gold they had is with the husband, and it is, pawned away, or,
Yeah.
they sold it off. So I saw how anxious, nervous, insecure they were, though they were super rich,
Yeah.
the reality hit them, right? Overnight, and that is when I learned a lot, right? So I was earning, but I was not very much into, like, as Ankit said, right? I was earning. I've been earning for a long time, but I only had a runway of another 6 months.
Yeah.
If everything, went down the drain.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that's not great. Okay.
Yeah.
God knows when the COVID will end. So that was a wake up call for me, and I started thinking, more in the lines of passive income, maybe doing multiple gigs, investing a lot in Bangalore, so that, down the line when I'm done with my work, I can start something in Bangalore, commercially on my own, like a business or a startup, whatever it is. So I never thought in that direction, because I always thought I'll keep working, then one day I will retire, and then I will have the money in my PPF or EPF, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I realized that's not enough. And I understand I'm one of the most privileged women, and then I am scared.
Yeah.
I have double degree. I have been working for 8-9 years of my life, and I have a great cushion of parents to fall back on if things went haywire. I was thinking of women who gave up jobs, or they didn't have financial independence, or they didn't know how to handle anything. They don't have any clear sight for the next 2-3 months. It was really scary for me, to think about that, situation.
Yeah. Reshma, I want to hear from you as well, because you, of course, have lived in India, but you've also lived abroad, right? So, and I think this is something that is universal. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, what walk of life, like Divya mentioned, you could be rich, but, feeling secure is a completely different thing. So, if you can talk about what your perspective is on financial independence.
Absolutely. I think financial independence is being able to afford the lifestyle you want on your own dime.
Yeah.
Not just because you have money in the bank, but because you have access to the money. Not just money, but the right to make decisions about your financial, whatever you want to spend money on. A lot of people, like you said, are very rich on paper, or people that have rich spouses or parents, but that doesn't necessarily mean I can decide today, as the wife or the daughter of rich families, that I want to go and buy a 40,000 rupee or 40 lakh rupee, whatever it is, without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
When you have that, I only have X amount of rupees in the bank, whether it's 2 rupees or 2 crores, and I can go and blow it all.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to question me.
Yeah.
And I have confidence in myself to figure out, if I blow the entire amount, I'll figure out how to get more. That is true financial independence now.
No, absolutely. And I think financial independence, like you said, the power to make decisions, right? I think money is very powerful for, it can be good, evil, whatever, not getting into that debate, but it gives you choices. And choices to walk away from situations also that you don't want to be a part of. And I think for every woman, feeling trapped, actually for anyone, forget women, like women feeling trapped is a terrible feeling to have. And I think the only way to kind of feel secure, feel that you have some amount of power in your hands, is to be financially capable, independent, to take care of yourself. And why should you depend on anyone for that?
And it's also, part of that is also understanding what you can do with the money to make it grow, right? Whether it's getting a second gig, whether it is investing, whether it is taking charge of, okay, I'm not into the financial markets. I'm not a portfolio manager or anything.
Yeah.
But when I give my money to my financial planner, for example, I will go and double check the investment he recommends to me.
Yeah.
At the very least, he knows I'm doing my homework. He knows that I know where to get that information.
Yeah.
Just that changes the way people then speak to you.
Yeah.
Because, I might not know, for example, this is not probably a very equivalent example. I am not able to, for example, do PhD in a particular language, but I can go to the kirane wala and buy my groceries.
Yeah.
That lessens the chances of me being duped in some sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And completely side story, I just remembered somebody, I was taking the testimonial of one of the clients, and she said that, she feels intimidated walking into a bank and just talking to somebody, because that person also talks to you like you're inferior. That's what, these are her words. So it's like, madam, aapko samajh nahi aayega, koi baat nahi, it's like, aap bas idhar, main aapko bol raha hu, wo sahi hai. Like, you don't even have to worry about this, which is really demeaning, right? It's like, whether it's someone trying to sell you an insurance product or an investment product or anything, it's like, okay, you don't need to worry about it. But no, you do need to worry about it, right?
Absolutely. And sorry, I have to speak up here because I think, the older generation is definitely much more vulnerable.
Yeah.
I come from Maharashtra, where a lot of our youth move overseas for studies or work or whatever, and the parents get older and they're here.
Yeah.
And all your relationship managers, it's a misnomer, right? Because the person who was your so-called relationship manager is actually there to increase the money to the bank.
Yes.
So they're advising you based on fees that they get, not based on your real needs.
Yeah.
But they're saying, auntie and uncle, and aapne chai kitni achhi banai, and based on that, you give them money.
Yeah.
I have heard horror stories of people signing blank forms. We'll move your investments into some other, investment vehicle.
Yeah.
Which may not actually be the right thing to do a month down the road, because the markets change minute to minute.
Yeah.
You got to at least be aware of that, and they're not.
Yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
That's very scary.
Absolutely. So, I want to ask Ankit, right? Like, I mean, this is something that has happened to us, as co-founders of a business. When we walk into some place, I see the ease with which Ankit walks in, and I'm always kind of a little bit unsure of things, and he'll always tell me to look confident, or why are you so scared? And I myself don't know. But Ankit, did you ever feel intimidated, even in the early days of your career? Like a young boy as an investment banker walking on Wall Street, did you ever feel like, oh, I don't belong here?
See, thing is, whenever you are walking into the unknown, it is scary. And only with your effort, when you have already tried it and not try to learn it, just observe people and learn as much as you can, how to walk, how to talk, and whatnot. That is when you get comfortable, and slowly, and based on how steep your learning curve is in that scenario, you can reach that comfort level sooner or later based on your learning curve. So of course, I come from a small city, Ranchi, and my studies was in Pilani. It's a very small town, and after that, working in Hyderabad, and when I went to New York, it was a big change.
Of course.
And accent was definitely a factor. The confidence with which people carry themselves, particularly in an industry like finance, it is intimidating. But when you so there is a saying in finance, particularly in investment banking: fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I don't think that's just investment banking. I think that's like a general saying.
So it's like when I was there, even when I was not confident, I was trying to pretend that I'm confident.
Yeah.
And slowly, I sort of learned things, the manners and whatnot, and slowly, I gained that confidence.
Yeah. No, I want to ask specifically all the women in the group, and even the men can answer. This whole thing about even if you're out at a restaurant and you're eating, the bill is always handed to the man. Has that ever happened to you? If it has, you can, react with an emoji. Because, it's like something as simple as paying a bill. It's assumed that the man is going to do this. It's not happened with me, but Reshma is putting a thumbs up. So I think it's happened with her. Anushka is saying it. I can see Hera is also applauding. So this is something which I just don't understand. That it like I don't know where these stereotypes come from. But Ankit, do you think that where does it come from? Money is a man's job. Or actually, you being a man, do you feel the pressure or the stress of having to do the finances?
See, any decision making, I mean, if it is an important one, it will put some stress on you. It doesn't matter whether you are a man or not. Same goes with finance, right? I mean, managing finances of, yourself or the household, it is a very important decision that you need to make. So, of course, that nervousness or stress will be there. And I'm kind of generalizing this, but men are equally confused. And as I said earlier, towards the beginning of the conversation, that the major difference between men and women is confidence, not the knowledge. Many a times I've seen, the level of knowledge is not much different, but the way that confidence with which men talk is different, right? When it comes to decision making, they're also equally confused, and many a times when I'm talking to them, they have made mistakes. Again, the way they respond to mistakes, or accepting that mistake has happened, and compared to when a woman does it, is again very different. So that stress is definitely there, and many a times, generally, men are not very expressive about their emotions, but they are also feeling that nervousness. Many a times, they are frustrated about that they have to take a decision, but they are not able to. And in such cases, I mean, if women offers their help, I think that will be appreciated. Maybe if not directly with decision making, what they can offer is, okay, hey, how about I help you with the research? And that is how slowly, women can also start getting involved in the decision making. I mean, just baby steps, but that stress is definitely there. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. So we are at 8:35 right now. So I'll invite anyone who's listening in to come in and speak with us. If you have any questions, you can ask it. If you generally want to share your thoughts on what's been said so far, you can raise your hands. And while you do that, let's move into the next thing, which is Ankit, related to what you were saying, which is couples, right? Like couples and finance. So many a times we have clients, who we do couple sessions for, right? And we see how uncomfortable this is to talk about. So, firstly, if you can just talk, shed some light about, just generally how like money sort of works in a couple kind of a setting, and then maybe that will also give us some clarity.
Absolutely. I mean, finance is generally a very important topic in anyone's lives, and when you are talking about finance as a couple, it is definitely not an easy topic to talk about. People are generally not comfortable, discussing that. And I have seen, I have had clients. I have clients who are couples wherein one partner is hiding things from the other, and of course that is not healthy.
Yeah.
So finance is something that has to be discussed. I mean, the approach can be different from based on how you are as a person and dynamics between partners.
Yeah.
But it is a very important topic to discuss. And recently a relative of mine got engaged, and before he took the decision, finally saying yes and stuff. I was like, okay, so have you discussed money? Because it is also a very important topic. And just like, I mean, so it was an arranged marriage. It's not that, so he didn't know much about the girl. And so he asked me, I told him, okay, you should be doing this. And I don't actually know if he did or not. When I tried to follow up, if you did it, he tried to dodge the question.
Yeah.
So not something, of course, definitely not something that's very comfortable to talk about. Not a topic, and that is why we actually, based on certain of these events, we are actually have started offering sort of premarital financial conversations, so that if people are not comfortable talking among themselves, they can talk with us, so that we can ease them out, the conversation, so that they can have a better conversation and better clarity about how things are. Because clear communication is very important, and if it is not happening directly between the two of you, there is no harm, taking external help.
Yeah. I want to ask Reshma, firstly, Anushka, can you just mute yourself? I think there's some background noise. Thank you. So yeah, Reshma, I wanted to talk to you specifically because we did speak at length about relationships and, how money factors into it. So any lessons, that you want to share from your own life when it comes to, money and relationships?
I think it's very important for both partners to be cognizant of what there is in the bank, what is coming in, and what we're going to do about it. Also, equally important and a little bit irrelevant to this conversation, but it's important to choose your partner also according to your values. Often, this discussion happens much later, much after the papers are signed, so to speak, and it's too late. I mean, if you have different ideologies towards finance, different histories or relationships with money, then that can become a big thorn to live with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's totally relevant and it's a very important point. I think I think you said this, right? That your idea of love was just Karan Johar films. And that was me too. And I think a lot of 90s kids. But, reality is not as rosy because they never talk about the money aspect, right? Please
We
go ahead.
never talk about the money aspect. We also don't realize that, life is not a Karan Johar movie, not seriousness. So the person that you're marrying is coming from a different background.
Yeah.
You want to be clear about what you think of investments, what you think of spending. What is a valid expense in your mind? Maybe a dinner at a 5-star every once in a while is okay by me, but maybe it's not okay by my spouse. And if it's not, then how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to, man maar ke jeena is not the way to live.
Absolutely.
And it's not something that can happen long term. And today we have choices, right? That's the biggest problem these days with dating, where divorce is common and relationships are not working out.
Yeah.
And that scares people. So it's all the more important also because it's exhausting to go through the process again and again, right? To make the right decisions.
Yeah.
And so therefore you start by educating yourself first, right?
Yeah.
And then having an honest conversation. I also think that, again, this is not really relevant to this discussion, but it's important to have that ease or friendship with your spouse where you can have this discussion.
Yeah.
That, hey, we disagree about these things, but this is where I'm at with this.
Yeah. So Shreya's here, and Shreya, I'll let you speak. I just wanted to quickly just say that, so I had an arranged marriage, and that's not something I'd ever envisioned for myself, but that's how it happened. And I was very clear, and I was lucky enough to have a spouse who actually was very open and wanted to talk about these things. And we fight about a lot of things, but we don't fight about money. And I think that's really, really helpful because that's something that you can't really change, right? I think it's a lot to do with how you grow up, and it's not something that is like, okay, I don't like something and that's okay. Money is very important, and it should be discussed. And I think Reshma, I think if you're dating, it's a lot easier to do, so highly encourage you to do that. But if you're in an arranged marriage setup, you do all kind of question and answers with your prospect, so make sure that money is part of that discussion. Shreya, go ahead.
Thank you. I Actually, I have a question to Reshma, right? And I think, Reshma, the points that you brought up are very, very relevant to this conversation because marriage is also like a lifelong thing, right? It's a reality that you have to deal with. So you have to kind of think, and it can be, if you are stuck in a situation like that, it can be liberating or it can be very limiting. So just to play the devil's advocate here, right? Not to imply that I'm going through things like this because I'm not. But for somebody who chose the partner that she has, and we have a lot of cultural semblance and very similar values, and we really kind of took time to understand, even in that situation, how would you then say? Because I don't think that even when you're dating somebody or you've had like practical conversations in an arranged marriage situation, I don't think the conversation ever really goes that far. You can't anticipate what joint assets you're going to invest in eventually, apart from one or two very obvious ones. How do you really align on your financial habits? And because there is one which is like more theoretical and one is just practice, right? And how far can you plan and align this piece?
I don't think you can plan and align, but you can make an informed decision based on understanding how the person thinks, right? And this I'm talking purely based on my own personal experience to say that you can't. See, I'm sorry to say, but I'm allergic to arranged marriages because you can't negotiate a relationship the way you do a contract, right? And you can't, so if I want, even in a contract, if I want you to sign with me, I'll tell you all the good things. If I don't want you to sign with me, I will say all sorts of things that will turn you off. That's just how human psychology works. So all you can do is have a conversation in the course of even in dating, why not? Even in dating, where are we going out to dinner? What are we doing on our date tonight? Are we going to, watch Cirque du Soleil? Are we going to a dhaba? And if I like the dhaba and you like, the 5-star or vice versa, then it's not going to work, right? Particularly in an arranged situation where I'm only with you because of everything but your personality. Literally, I'm sorry, but that's how it is.
Okay, I'll actually like to add to what Reshma said. Shreya, when you are, say, dating or when you're having a conversation, it's to start with, it's difficult to have these conversations because, as I said, finance is not an easy topic to talk about. But as Reshma said, are you going to a 5-star or a dhaba? There is nothing wrong in going to a dhaba or 5-star. But are you? So I'm someone who I do like to eat at pani puris on Hela, but I'm also time to time I also like to go to 5-star. But say for whatever period, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months, whatever you guys have been dating or just courting or whatever time you're spending together, or whatever conversations you are having, just try to seize about how this person is thinking. And in a subtle way, you can ask, okay, so do you? So say if it is you are not going out because he said a person went out with his or her friends. Okay, so where did you go? Oh, what kind of place was that? And if you see, okay, they mostly hang out in, say, more expensive places or more cheap places, you also get to see the kind of lifestyle they have.
Exactly. And if I agree with you.
But you can't ask direct questions.
And you shouldn't, right? Because you shouldn't. You should just ask, getting to know your person. And no, absolutely. On the choices they've made, the stories they tell, where do they go on holidays? It's
absolutely. I feel for all, in a domestic partnership, I feel like for all practical reasons, these are very important things. Right? So values need to align.
If I'm friends with you if I'm friends with you and I'm meeting you, if every time we go to the dhaba and that's not my scene, it's not.
Yes.
And also become.
And it's very,
If I tell you, oh, I went and bought this big ticket item, you're going to get judgy because that's not your value. And why should anybody feel guilty, right? It's my money. I should tear it up, throw it in the toilet. It's my choice.
Fair. But where I'm coming from, right? And that's why I said, well, play a little devil's advocate because when you say get into a domestic partnership, even if you've been together for a long time and stuff, right? There's still thrill in building together and co-creating and stuff. And so there are a lot of surprises also. Like you can't map your life out in front of you entirely. So then there's still surprises in like what kind of choices you'll make together and stuff. So I feel like I don't think it is 100% solution is never the case, but I don't think that you yourself think that far ahead or know what lies in front of you, right? So there still could be friction there, or there, somebody may progress career-wise or be influenced by other things, and there still money is a very sticky subject. There still could be conflict later on.
Absolutely. But I think in a relationship, whether it's friendship or partnership or whatever, it's like school, right? You learn how to solve problems. You see many problems.
Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. Can't tell who is speaking. Maybe you are, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, Reshma, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I was saying, as in school, you learn how to solve problems. You see many problems after school that you don't see during those 12 years, right? Similarly, I think you can't train for a relationship. You can just gauge the person. As in, is he kind? Is he understanding? Is he or she, whatever, able to work with the changing circumstances? Is there maturity? And again, these are what I look for. That might be different for you, but you have to be able to work together.
Yeah, but I also think
Absolutely,
that
and you can't completely map out your entire life for. It's not just relationship, for anything, right?
Anything, absolutely.
There will be unknowns will be there, and what you can actually, particularly when you're looking at your partner, what you can look at the values. If the thought process is aligned or not, because as humans we evolve, right? You will be, every individual is going to evolve in certain direction, and it's not going to be the same, like even for two partners, right? But as long as the values, as the thought process is aligned, I think that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And it absolutely matters. It's also not about fun expenses, right? It's like we're all getting older. Our parents are getting even older. There's a real possibility somebody's in the hospital or has to, you have to suddenly take off flight and go. And
absolutely,
airlines are trying to make up for the so-called losses they had during the last 2 years. Are you willing to, even if you have the money, do you have the guts, or do you have the, how do I say this? Are you able to spend the money you have? Unjustified expenses that may be way more than you budgeted, but they have to be incurred.
Yeah.
Are you going to make your spouse feel guilty for taking a whatever 1 lakh rupee ticket to go see their parent because they're in the hospital?
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, so it's an approach to life in general, I guess, that you have to gauge and find what works for you. For me, I feel like I need to find somebody who I'm comfortable with, right? To have those conversations with and to know how he's going to react.
Yeah. I think if it's someone who is open at least to have these conversations, it doesn't have to be about money. It can be about any things which are tricky subjects, right? But if you can approach them and speak to each other about it, that's already a very good sign. Because I've seen couples where because they talk to us independently and then they talk to us as couples, and I can see that their financial goals are very different. So even the kind of wedding you want to have, how much you want to spend at the wedding. Like for my wedding, we pretty much rented everything and tried to keep the cost as low as possible. So things like that. Ranjit, you've been waiting for a while, so if you want to add.
Shreya, can I move you to listening?
Yes, please. I'm done with my questions.
All right, thank you.
Yes, well, one thing I really want to add that financial goals, every individual have their own financial goals. Either it is short term, long term, or mid term.
Yeah.
As you have said, Meta.
Yeah.
And like you have spent, you would like to like your wedding really low, really cost effective.
Yeah.
Right. So before marriage or even when we are dating, we can discuss those financial objectives so deeply and how, as a couple, we both want to achieve that.
Yeah.
So I think that really helps us.
Yeah, that's a good topic to talk about, right? Because that's relevant to the whole marriage concept. Yeah. Yes, Vaishnavi, hi, nice of you to make it.
I was in and out because of my other meetings. I just caught up with a few of the things that Reshma and you guys were discussing.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the discussion. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, to whatever these amazing ladies have been adding up to, relationship and the money talk. It's absolutely necessary, but my point of view and my I've been with my partner for a decade and married for 4 years now.
Congratulations. That's a long time.
Yeah, so I understand how important it is, but it all has to be organic. As in, none of us, neither of the partners should feel hey, we need to have this discussion. And when you're, courtship or something, that is when, it's a non-verbal communication initially, and when you are like solid, that is when like you have to put out a foundation. As a couple, what are your goals, and as an individual, what are your goals? You will have a separate account, your partner will have a separate account that is for their personal goals. And as a couple, you have a house, you have future retirement plans. Where do you want to settle down? How often do you want to travel? Where do you want to travel? All that stuff you need to kind of discuss, like how you it's not a rocket science, like, but yeah, communication is really important. And
Yeah.
having this thing like my goals are my goals, partners is partners. And when you have a goal together, you have to work it like it's a project. Like you have to be very accountable for whatever steps you are taking with respect to money, and be answerable or be, accountable for whatever you're doing as a couple. But yeah, and when it comes to our own individual, I don't think like any of us have to question our partners choices, or neither they have to do with us. I think that's a kind of a healthy way of having good relationship with your partner, as well as the money you both earn as a couple and as an individual. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
See, but Vaishnavi, what you said is about organic, right? But the thing is, first of all, congratulations that you guys have been together for so long, and you got a chance to spend so much time together before you got married. But many times that is not the case. People don't get so much time to know each other, and when there are limited time and people are having discussions, getting to know each other. That organic conversation about money may not happen. So someone has to sort of initiate that conversation in a small form, and that also something can be very generic, very small. Okay, like just an example. Okay, so let's say when you're thinking of going for a dinner, or okay, so after getting married, where are you planning to, what kind of place, or where area, or what kind of, like, will it be a small house, big house, 2 BHK, 1 BHK, 3 BHK, a big bungalow? Generally speaking, when you start with smaller conversations like these, which doesn't come across necessarily as a finance conversation, money conversation, but more like a lifestyle conversation, it can initiate the conversation. And then again, as I was telling earlier to Shreya, with these, you can use these as proxies to understand what the thought process is.
Yes, and that's what I meant organic. See, when your partner says, "I want to have a sushi today," you won't, think, "Oh, I have $1,000 in my pocket. That's enough." Right? You will know, like, okay, my partner likes sushi. This is
Yeah.
what are the places. One maki roll, like, basic avocado roll will cost me $400. You will have an idea. That's what I meant organic. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily right, like, hey, this is what this million pounds I want in my account, these many crores rupees I want in my account, or these are the investment I want to do. It doesn't happen that way. Like, it has to happen organically, and you figure it out. You can't, like, even in arranged marriage setup and everything, where half of the job is done by our parents, looking at the family and what they are bringing, like, as to the table, all that stuff. Still, there will be, little hiccups with respect to lifestyle and everything, which also happen organically. If there is a, money talk, I don't think any relationship, not just a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend, even between the friends and siblings,
Yeah.
if you have that stringent like money talk, I don't think
It's
it will
awkward.
progress well. Yeah.
It's awkward. No, absolutely. I think proxy questions and kind of, like you said, non-verbal cues are like really important. I'm sorry to cut into the conversation. I know it's super interesting, but we're at 8:57 and I have to be the bad guy and kind of start wrapping up this conversation as well. But I really feel this conversation will not be complete if we don't talk about, what we should do. So we've spent a lot of time talking about problems and all of that kind of stuff. I want to spend a little bit of time on this, and I will request the listeners, if you are listening and you want to stick around for a little bit longer, this episode might be slightly, 5-10 minutes a bit long, but of course, I don't want to leave you with just problems. So let's quickly shift gears and talk about what works or how to actually, start becoming more financially responsible. So, Ankit, I'm going to obviously throw this to you first and talk about, okay, so how do we get started? We know that this is important, we need to do this, but how do we get started?
I think a very small step that you can start with is say understanding your payslip. What is happening with your money? Whatever CTC, whatever profit, whatever salary, what you were promised, what's happening to it, and what is it that you're actually getting in your bank account. Next thing can be just before taking any decisions. First of all, try to understand all the investments, all the loans, liabilities that are already there, and God forbid, whoever the person is who has been taking care of your finances, if something was to happen to that person, or just generally that person is not available, how will you access? So just getting access to the account, so that at least how to log in, how to access the funds, the investment, the cash, whatever it is. I think this is something that very basic that you can start with, and actually we have developed a tool. It's a free tool that you can just go and answer a few questions based on whatever your learning has been, how the finances are, and just enter a few details, and you will get to know how you have been performing, how financially, how have you been performing, what are the gaps. It tells you, so you become aware about what are the gaps, and then you can start educating yourself. Okay, now these are the areas I need to focus on.
Okay, thanks, Ankit. Let's go to Divya next.
Yeah. So I would say the first and foremost thing is to educate yourself. Not knowing about investments is not an option anymore. And it doesn't matter if you're earning 30,000 or 3 lakhs. There is always, ways to start small and then learn, unlearn fast and move on. And in this day and age, we have so many tools or so many apps or, YouTube videos or, Reddit groups or Facebook groups where you can, learn from other people's, mistakes or stories, right? And learn from that and do something which will fit your portfolio or fit your lifestyle. Just don't copy paste just because someone else invested
Yeah,
2 lakh
very
in
important.
Bitcoin. You need not do the same, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to do your research and, take your own steps. And that's the point, that come top of mind to me.
Okay, thanks, Divya.
But this is critical, what Divya said. Don't follow others blindly.
Yeah.
It's extremely important.
Yeah, please don't copy paste. That's very important. Reshma.
So just adding to or reiterating what Ankit said, know what's coming in, know where it's going, know if you can reduce your tax liability from your income, all of that. Know how you're saving it. Follow they say save a certain percentage of your income, invest a certain percentage of your income, do a little bit tithing, and then have the rest to spend. So save before you spend. And also educate yourself, right? I think with anything in life, you need to have a growth mindset. So as I was talking to you during our conversation, Medha, there's a series on Netflix that is like a reality TV series about this financial planner in the US.
Mm-hmm.
All of those options may not be available in India, but to have that mindset of what is my end goal.
Yeah.
And because it's couples counseling, the series features a bunch of couples and what their goals are and how exactly what a lot of people talked about. Sometimes the goals are different, sometimes they're the same, and you need to work together even if you have two independent accounts for your own things and then one joint account for your joint things. Kind of be a team, right? When you're trying to solve for the problem. Yeah. And as you do anything is the way you do anything is the way you do everything, honestly. So I feel like instead of asking what do you spend your money on, see what the person does when you meet.
Right. Anushka, what do you think?
Yes, I think busting myths about every aspect of the personal finance and financial planning is really important because due to some really, really irrelevant myths, we really hold ourselves back. For example, having it's really, really silly myth that having an insurance is just a waste of money, but it is not. So busting myths first is, I think, really a crucial step we have to take towards financial independence.
Okay, thanks, Anushka. If I had to kind of just put in my 2 cents as someone who was kind of clueless about finances and then ended up starting a company which helps other people do financial planning, I think the most important thing is to start. Honestly, the biggest problem with women is that we are so scared to make mistakes. We are so scared to just take a chance on ourselves. Start with a very small amount. Start with 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees is all it takes to invest in a mutual fund. But do it. Do the research. Figure it out. And matlab, spend something that you would buy a Starbucks coffee and not think about it, right? So even if you lose it, it's completely okay because it's like, okay, I bought a coffee and it's gone. But the important thing is to start. All of the tips that everyone has given super relevant, but at the end of the day we have to take that first step. And I very strongly feel that women, we talk about equality in everything, right? We say we want everything to be equal, as equal to men, but when it comes to financial responsibility we don't step up. And I'm saying this because I see a lot of my clients, I see a lot of people I talk to, not step up and just be like, oh, my husband is taking care of this, or my parents are taking care of it, which is not fair. It's actually not fair for your husband as well to have to do all of this research, to have to figure out every single decision for your finances. So kind of shoulder that responsibility, take responsibility along with him. And I think you will be happier as a couple if that happens. So I think that is really, really important. I want to thank everyone who was part of this conversation today. Today's conversation was very women centric, but I think a lot of these things apply to men as well, because I can see a lot of them who are part of this call right now. So thanks a lot. I just want to quickly ask Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi, because we spoke about this and you were supposed to be part of the call, if you can also share a few tips about how do you think people can get started, and then we can kind of wrap up the call.
Yeah, I just want to echo whatever you said. Start today, even if it's 500 bucks, it's enough. I know it's gonna get a little intimidating looking at all the details over there on the internet and so many reels and every 15-second content we consume. Just start. It's okay. We're gonna lose money if we don't start. If you at least start, even if you lose, you will learn something.
Yeah.
And if possible, seek guidance from the advisors. We have Ankit and Meda here. We there are so many authorized advisors, financial advisors out there. Pay, it's okay. And even if they are quoting you some amount of money, of course they quote on basis of the profit and on the basis of your portfolio, but you are not losing. Like, the money you are giving it to your advisor is an investment. You can't sit with your friends over a chai or over a beer and discuss all this. Of course you can, but you're not getting any expertise out of it. So if you're feeling scared, scared to just jump into it, start small, then seek help from the professionals that we already have, who are giving us the services. Yeah, that's what.
Thanks, Vaishnavi. And thank you, everyone, for actually sticking with us for this entire hour and a little over than that. We're here every Thursday talking about finance. So, join us next week and we'll be talking about some finance related topic. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Anushka, Reshma, Vaishnavi, Divya, Ankit, for this
Thanks a lot.
conversation.
Thank you so much.